Hey, good morning. It's Monday. I hope you're doing great. Well, I don't know when you're going to be actually watching this, but whatever time of day it is, good day to you. I'm Bernie Miklasz. Welcome to the Bernie Show here on SportsHubSTL.com. The Bernie Show is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. You can find all my videos, columns, and the podcast version of my videos here at SportsHubSTL.com. Actually, the podcast version of my videos are available at Apple and Spotify. So there's a lot of different ways to get to my work, and I appreciate all of your support. Even if we disagree on some stuff, so what? That's sports, baby. Hey, let's jump into some Cards talk today. The Cardinals just had themselves a heck of a road trip, going 7-2 against the Nationals, Phillies, and Royals. At 26-21, the Cardinals have really turned their season around. We'll get into that here in a minute. The Cardinals are just 2 games behind the first place Cubs in the National League Central Division. And it wasn't that long ago that the Cardinals were, in fact, earlier this month, they were 6.5 games out. So that's not bad to see them close so much ground on the Cubs. You know, when you pause and consider the Cardinals got off to a poor start to the season. I mean, they had a pretty big hole to climb out of. And they're also being outspent by the Cubs this season by an estimated $55 million. So that's one of the other intriguing things about this season so far. The fact that the Cardinals are doing a lot more with less, if that's the way to put it. I mean, they slashed payroll by nearly $40 million from their 2024 payroll, which of course made many, I don't know, the best fans in baseball furious and betrayed and demanding that Bill DeWitt sell the franchise and all that stuff. And there's been I don't know if I would call it a boycott, but obviously, unofficially, a lot of Cardinals fans just made the decision to withhold support financially from the team this year by buying tickets to Busch Stadium. So even though the team is entertaining, even though the team has a great record at home, the home attendance at Busch Stadium this year in terms of tickets sold ranks about middle of the pack among the 30 teams. They're getting close to that anyway. It's strange because I never thought I'd see the day in St. Louis where there's at least a small percentage of the fans of the team basically rooting against the team because of their collective disdain for DeWitt, president of baseball operations John Mozeliak, and manager Oli Marmol. Okay, I kind of beat this to death. I get it, but it's true. It's just still continues to intrigue me because it'd be one thing if this team was horrible. It'd be one thing if this team is as bad as a lot of us thought it would be. If it was a hopeless situation, it was a dull team. It didn't have a personality. It was flat. It didn't have an identity, all that stuff. Well, I could see maintaining this, this disdain for all things Cardinals, basically. But these guys are playing really well, and they're a hell of a lot of fun to watch, and they're very entertaining. And, something bad happens to them, and they get up, start throwing punches again. I just love the whole demeanor of this team. So you'll have to forgive me a little, but I'm really getting a kick out of this because underdog stories have appealed to me. Teams that exceed expectations have appealed to me. And the Cardinals were counted out by the national media, counted out by a lot of their own fans, counted out, but for the most part by me. But that's why they play the games. Despite ranking 19th in payroll dollars this season, the Cardinals have a better record to this point than 8 teams that are outspending them in 2025. Braves, Red Sox, Astros, Blue Jays, Diamondbacks, Rangers, Orioles, and Angels. And in some instances, the payroll difference is huge. For example, Toronto's outspending St. Louis by more than $100 million this season. The Cardinals are spending $80 million less than the Rangers, $79 million left than the Astros, $67 million less than the Angels, and $59 million less than the Red Sox. And the Cardinals have a better record than all of those teams. And it's not like this has been easy for the Cardinals. This has been a difficult season to get the thing up and running and to pull themselves out of a ditch. After losing a series in Atlanta, the Cardinals were a disturbing 10-15. And at that point, they were tied with the Pirates, same record. And the only team in the National League that was worse than the Cardinals and the Pirates were the Colorado Rockies. I mean, that's who they were slumming with. But since then, the Crusading Cardinals have just kind of rolled their way to the National League's best record at 16-6. And if you go back to near the end of April, the fellows were still 5 games under 500 on April the 29th. But since then, the Cardinals have surged to a 14-4 record, and that's the best in the major leagues over that time. The Cardinals have the best record in the National League in May. On May 3rd, they were still 5 games under 500. After they lost the game on May 3rd, they were still 5 games under 500. 14-19, that's a .424 winning percentage. That was 12th in the National League. They were 6.5 games behind the Cubs, as I alluded to earlier. Pardon me. And so they were in danger of just letting this whole thing get away, this idea of a winning season, this idea of competing, in a way that maybe they could at least be on the fringe of being a wild card contender. All of that looked to be slipping away. But manager Oli Marmol's club responded impressively and emphatically since then, as you know, by going 12-2, which is the National League's best record and second overall since May the 4th. And I want to go back to even further, because I think the larger the sample size, the more credible the sample size is, right? So let's go back a bit. The Cardinals opened the season by sweeping the Twins, and then they lost their next 3 series. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels at home. They got pounded by the Red Sox in Boston, and they go to Pittsburgh and lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates. But after losing 3 of those first 4 series of 2025, the Cardinals have now won 8 of their next, let me retrace that. The Cardinals have won 8 of their last 11 series. That stretch has two series lost and a series split. So they're 8-2-1 in their last 11 series. That's a good way to rebound from losing 3 of your first 4 series. Now, this may surprise you because it did surprise me, but since that point in time where they lost that 3rd consecutive series early in the season, they lost to the Pirates. Since that time, they were the 3rd team in that stretch of consecutive series losses. Since that time, that extra innings loss to the Pirates went 13 innings. Remember that? The Cardinals are 21-14 over their last 11 series. And, that's not only is it 7 games over 500, but if you're not impressed by that, that's okay. You can be entitled to whatever. But that 21-14 record since that point is tied with the Mets, and it's better than the Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies, Padres, Diamondbacks, Giants, and Brewers. I would say that's a pretty damn impressive rebound from where they were after that series in Pittsburgh. If we look at the last month of baseball, just the last month of baseball, each team's last 30 games, and you can see this at Baseball Reference. They have a category, last 30 games. You go see where your teams are, right? The Cardinals are 18-12 over the last 30 games, and they have the exact same record as the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Cubs, and better than the Padres and Diamondbacks. See, the Cards 2025 season has changed dramatically. And you can be skeptical as much as you want to be. Do what you want, think what you think. And this is the spot, of course, where I'm going to repeat once again that this is a long, long season. I got it. As of Monday morning, the Cardinals still have 71% of their schedule still to play in 2025. But let's not miss the point here. When a team gets off to a terrible start, at that point, there's only one thing you can do about it. What you hope to see if you're a fan of the team is that, okay, it was a bad start. Man, is it going to be like this all year? The only thing you can hope for is to see them pull themselves and climb out of that hole and rise up to play much better baseball to give themselves a chance to have a good season. And that's all they can do. And that's all that you can wish for under those circumstances. And Oli Marmol's club has done exactly that. They responded to a terrible start by playing great baseball. I don't know. I think that's worthy of some praise. Silly me. Is it maybe time to give the Cardinals, their manager and the coaching staff a little credit? I think so. I know so. That's how I feel, and I have some things to say about this. But first, I want to tell you about DraftKings and their daily Pick Six Challenge. The Major League regular season is heading closer to Memorial Day, and we've learned a lot about the players in baseball or any other sport that you're tracking. But if you think you know Major League Baseball or the sport that you prefer, then put that knowledge to work for you and win big cash prizes at DraftKings Pick Six. In DraftKings Pick Six, you just focus on the player sets. You select anywhere from 2 to 6 players for that night's or that day's games, and you choose whether the individual player will go higher or lower on a specific stat that's been set by DraftKings. For example, I use this one randomly. Jose Ramirez and the Guardians are in Minneapolis tonight. The Twins are the hottest team in baseball right now. But if you think Ramirez will hit a home run, then you would pick higher as your play than the DraftKings line set at 0.5. Or you can play the lower, meaning you don't think he'll homer because the Twins are red hot and all that stuff. And then you would win that way if you play lower and he doesn't hit a homer. Yeah, it's that simple. And it's fun. There's so many good options to choose from depending on the sport and depending on your preferences, and you're scoping out some good probabilities and things like that. So take your best shot at pulling in that cash money. Pick Six is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. You'll enjoy tracking your players that you select while the game's in progress. But really, the most fun, the most entertaining part of this is winning. And you can do that at DraftKings. It's easy to get started. Just download the DraftKings app and open an account, choose a sport, pick your players, and go for it. New players at DraftKings get $50 in Pick Six credits instantly with just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick Six credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick Six from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, the Cardinals are playing good baseball, and it's up to them, of course, to continue doing that. But I always look at a couple of things when a team has played close to 30% of its schedule. Number one, is the team shown the resolve, the will, the ability to overcome adversity? Well, with the Cardinals, the answer is an obvious yes. They rebounded from a slow start and a horrendous bullpen breakdown. Marmol and pitching coach Dusty Baker got to work. Not Dusty Baker. I always say that, man. See, I've covered Dusty Baker too many years. All right, Marmol and pitching coach Dusty Blake fixed the bullpen less than a month into the season. And since then, the Cardinals have soared. And during the hard times early on, which I've already alluded to as far as their record and how bleak it looked after they lost that Pirates series. But after those hard times, or during those hard times, they never gave into it at all. I never saw any sign of a team being dispirited or demoralized or sort of mentally packing it in. No, it was the exact opposite. They just continue to play ball and play hard. Number two, has a team established an identity? Do we have a good, confident belief on how at least they're going to go about their business? It doesn't mean they're going to win all the time, but are they going about things right? Do they have a philosophy? Can we see it? Do they have a personality? Can we see it? Do they have a clear identity? Can we see it? What's the vibe? Well, again, all these questions, the answer is yes. The Cardinals have some problem spots. And if you choose to pick it one or two things and go bananas over that, knock yourself out, because there ain't a team in baseball right now that doesn't have problem spots. And like every team in baseball, Cardinals pitching can be off form for a spell, or the offense might stall and score 1 or 2 runs per game for a short time. The Cardinals have, even despite their success, they've actually experienced some of that in the last week or so. But I don't overreact to that stuff, because the Cardinals have already shown a willingness and an ability to fight back when they hit these little ruts. They're a hungry team. They compete hard. They're resilient. The energy level is really high. Though again, yeah, they're going to have a day like that extra innings loss in Pittsburgh where they looked a little sleepy, a little tired, whatever. It's going to happen. But these Cardinals play hard, they compete hard, they have fun playing the game, and as I've said many times, they really bring joy to the competition. When they go on the field, man, that's a happy team. They love playing baseball. And I think they're a very likable team. I look forward to their games. And, part of it is you can see that the players like each other and that the players like the manager and the coaches. That's why the morale has remained high all season. What about the Cardinals' competitive identity? It's firm, but it's also a little versatile. We can see it. Solid starting pitching, supported by excellent defense. I believe the best defense in the majors. The defense is a huge part of this team's identity. The defense saves a lot of runs and is a main reason for the Cardinals' ability to win close games. They're now 7-2, I believe, in their last, or 7-2 in their last 9 one-run games. I think that's right. If it's not 7-2, it's 7-1. We also know that in the aftermath of that bullpen meltdown, the restructured bullpen is deployed on a consistent basis. We know that they're going to cover. They got a good plan to cover for those 7th and 8th innings before handing a lead to closer Ryan Helsley, and the bullpen depth has improved. At the plate, the hitters are more determined to cultivate quality at bats. They work counts. They aren't overly aggressive about swinging at the first pitch. They look for strikes. They don't chase as much as they used to. They foul off a lot of pitches to keep at bats alive. They have a good contact rate. They have one of the highest line drive rates in the majors. And when their hitters have a pitch that they can pull and drive, then they attack it. See, this is one of the most interesting things about the Cardinals offense. They don't pull the ball as often as most teams do, and yet they're sort of having their cake and eating it too. Because when the Cardinals do pull a pitch, especially when they pull a pitch in the air, they get good results. But here's the deal. They don't force it. This is what I mean about how they're a more intelligent team. The batting coach, Brant Brown's made a difference. They're a lot smarter team at the plate because they have a purpose. They have a philosophy. They have a plan. And they don't force it. So this is why we see the St. Louis hitters shooting the ball to the opposite field so often. I think that's a good thing, because why try to pull a pitch that you can't pull? Why not take it the opposite way? As a matter of fact, I love this stat. The Cardinals basically, well, actually they're second now by 1. The Cardinals have the second highest number of hits in the majors when going to the opposite field. They're only the team ahead of them might be the Padres, only have 1 more. See, this team doesn't swing for the fences. So people, I always kind of laugh when people say, well, they don't hit a lot of home runs. They hit enough. And by the way, their pitchers don't allow many. So the Cardinals are like ahead in the home run differential. But do you really want to see? For years now, I've heard, home runs aren't the only thing. I'm tired of these guys going up there always trying to hit a home run. But then when they don't hit a bunch of home runs, it's like, oh, boy, this team doesn't hit home runs. But remember how I told you about the line drive rate they have, which, by the way, is the second highest in baseball so far this season? Those line drives have led to the second highest number of doubles in the majors so far. So if you're not going to hit a bunch of bombs, hitting a bunch of doubles is really good. So another thing, because some of you might be thinking, see, I try to anticipate that. That's all right, because I've heard this a lot. They want the Cardinals to steal more bases. And I would be in favor of that if they had a kind of team that was capable of succeeding at a high rate at stealing bases. But they're not good at it. And it's more of a talent thing. It isn't a manager thing. Victor Scott's really, really good. He has swiped 13 out of 14. But Oli Marmol picks his spots, and that's what he should be doing, because when anyone other than Scott attempts a stolen base this season for the Cardinals, their success rate is 67%, which is terrible. So why do you want them to run into outs? I don't understand the pleading for more stolen bases. So what you're saying is, yeah, I just like to see them try. I know they only get 27 outs a game, but that's all right if you waste a few, you give a few away. Does that make sense to anybody? If they had a lot of guys who could steal, they would be trying to steal more. Victor Scott's the only guy in a meaningful way that is talented at this. So Marmol's being smart about it. See, part of your team identity is also knowing what you can't do well and not forcing the issue, right? See, that's something people don't give any manager credit for. It's like when they know their team, they know the things that they do well, and they're going to stress it. The good managers also know the things that they do not do well, and they're not going to sit there and stubbornly try to make it happen, even though it's a poor percentage play. I respect the smarter approach. The Cardinals have an identical style of play, but they can be successful when they go with another style of ball, depending on a game situation. Hitting to the opposite field is another good indication of that. Hitting to the opposite field with runners in scoring position is a good indication with that. But with this team, you can count on reliable starting pitching, a clutch bullpen, a pragmatic hitting approach, and a great defense. You're gonna win a lot of games if you can maintain that. And they're going to play hard, and they're not going to stop competing. And we've seen that. There's already strong evidence of that. When they got knocked down early in the season, man, there wasn't any moping around at all. See, this is another reason why, in my opinion, Oli Marmol and his coaches, and it's all about the coaches as well, they deserve credit because they've shaped this team's personality. They have put together, they have sort of laid out the plan to emphasize a certain style of play that's an effective fit for the talent that they have on the roster. And Marmol's nature, and behind the scenes, he gets on players. I know he does, but he tries to keep a positive demeanor, and he doesn't freak out when the team's not going well. And you know what? That's the kind of approach that players respond to. It really is. You know how I know this? The Cardinals players responded to it last season when they should have not had a winning record, but they did. And they're responding to it this season after getting off to a terrible start. I've got some closing thoughts on all this, but this is probably a good time for me to talk to my fellow guys about BlueChew. Gents, listen, especially those around my age, and I'm 66, please listen to what I have to tell you. BlueChew can help you have a more pleasurable and fulfilling life with your significant other, so why miss out? Like, what's the point of not taking some action, right? And I have no hesitation in making sure you know about the benefit and the value of BlueChew. Why? Because I've been there and done that. I don't feel uncomfortable at all in talking to you about this because my decision was well, there's no reason to just let this go. If there's a way to get help, I'm going to get help. And I did. So this issue applies to a significant percentage of men, including me. So there's no reason to be shy about this. Go get some help. BlueChew is the way to do it. It's an original brand offering chewable tablets for enhanced intimacy. Think of BlueChew as a leadoff man when it's time for you to turn your attention away from sports and focus on your partner. You're going to get your first month of BlueChew free. You're a few clicks away, and it's really easy to get started. Just sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. BlueChew tablets are made in the USA and shipped directly to your door. It's all done online. There's no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Just order online and you are all set. Trust Uncle Bernie here when I tell you this. There's nothing more attractive to your partner than when you have confidence and you show confidence. And BlueChew can help give you that confidence where it counts. And we've got a special deal for our listeners and our viewers. Try your first month of BlueChew free when you use the promo code Bernie. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code Bernie. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the Bernie Show. All right, let's get back to the Cardinals and Oli Marmol and the leadership dynamic on this team. I think he deserves respect for putting together a coaching staff of teachers. See, you can look around baseball and you can see managers that have kind of mediocre coaching staff. And some of it is because if it's a young manager, they're insecure. Well, I'm not going to hire a guy to be like my bench coach if he would be a candidate to replace me, that kind of thinking. Marmol didn't care about that. He hired Daniel Descalso, who's an excellent bench coach. They have a winning record since he became the bench coach. Hired John Jay, who's done wonders with Victor Scott, Jordan Walker, and others. Brant Brown was a terrific hire as a batting coach. Dusty Blake, who was in place, I think he was in place. Dusty Blake was more behind the scenes, but he's been in place since Marmol became manager. And I've told you this a bunch of times. I used to make fun of him on my Bernie show on KFNS because all I ever saw him was with the iPad. And so I called him, Coach iPad, and that wasn't a compliment. But I've apologized for that many times because me trying to get a laugh, failed to take some things into consideration. And actually, Dusty Blake's really good. And by the way, he, up until now, he's had to do this with a lot fewer resources than other pitching coaches have around the major leagues, as far as information, equipment, technology, et cetera. Listen, you go back to 2023, that was a bad year for everybody. Their worst full season since 1990. It was a throwaway. It couldn't be saved. But I do think Marmol used the awful experience as motivation. It was a brutal year. It was a hard year for them. He was really inspired to clean up the defense and base running and to kind of make sure that would never happen again. And indeed, in 2024, those two areas improved significantly. Since the start of the last season, the Cardinals have a .522 winning percentage, which is around the middle of the pack. I'm not trying to claim it's a great record, but it's a good record. But you also have to pay attention to context because 24-25 record combined, a big chunk of that obviously came right after their worst season since 1990. So the response to 2023 has been commendable. It was good in 2024, and they're continuing on with this in 2025. And Marmol and this staff are leading a team through a transition that really doesn't have a specifically defined goal. They're trying to kind of have it both ways. Well, we're going to develop, but we're going to try to win. Are we going to go all in to win? No, we're not going to do that because we have to develop. And it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, they are trying to develop players and they're trying to stick with players and they are trying to win, but only to a point. It's not an all-in type of season. And that's why it's kind of confusing. So manage for a minute. Imagine, I'm talking too fast and I apologize. Imagine for a minute, if you were managing this, what do you base your decisions on, right? Now, some of you will take the simplistic way out of this and say, well, the object is to win every game you can. Well, yeah, normally. But in this case, where the owner of the team and the general manager, the president of baseball operations, the team comes out and says, well, we're going to go with youth and we're probably going to take a step back, but we need to find out about young guys. And, we're going to reduce our payroll. You probably won't see us spending a lot of money. So if you believe with that criteria set up for Marmol, that he has to go into every game thinking, well, I don't care about anything. I'm going to do whatever I can to win this game. In normal times, that would be the attitude, but these are not normal times. This is a kind of a strange season. They're kind of stuck in between. And yet he's getting good results. See, when you're committed to younger players, because you need to know that if they're going to develop into something, it's a trade-off. And the philosophy will cost you some wins, but you're the manager and that's your job. And this 2025 agenda wasn't devised by Marmol. He didn't go to them and say, well, this is what I want to do. But they all agreed that this was the thing they had to do in 2025. Even if it was implemented by the front office, Marmol signed off on it. But that's neither here nor there. The point is he doing a good job with the talent that he's been given? Let me ask you another question. Do you think the manager in Baltimore who just got fired, who's got a hell of a lot more talent than the Cardinals, they won 100 games 2 years ago, 91 games last year, and they were 15-28 when he got sacked over the weekend? Do you think he was getting the most out of his talent? I'm pretty convinced Oli Marmol is. No manager bats 1,000. So, you can all say, well, what about Walker and Gorman? How come you're not talking about that? Well, because again, it was management's plan for 2025 and Marmol understood the assignment. And he also knows there comes a point in time where you can't stick with players, but they're not at that point right now. He agreed with the plan. But what about all of the things that have worked out very well? It's a short list that I'm going to use a short list. But there's a lot of things he took the initiative in doing. A lot of success stories. Putting Matthew Liberatore in the rotation. Yeah, there was some hesitation, but they wanted to see the full spring. Put Victor Scott II as the starter in center field. They moved Wilson Contreras to first base, and Wilson Contreras is playing great down there. Oli decided to put Lars Nootbaar at leadoff. Excellent move. Brendan Donovan batting third. I wasn't sure what to think of that. I like it. And what about Ivan Herrera? What a bat. What a talent. Marmol has made the right move to install him at DH where they weren't getting any production. And really, this resourcefulness goes back to last season. Since May 12th of last season, the Cardinals are 18 games over 500. They're 94-76 over that time. It's the 10th best record in the majors. And it comes during a time of transition, payroll slashing, letting Paul Goldschmidt go and letting Lance Lynn go and Kyle Gibson go and Andrew Kittredge go and all that. No major free agent expenditures and the edict to go with young hitters to expand the opportunities so the Cardinals could get clarity on these young hitters. And some of these young hitters are doing really well. Now we're waiting to see if Gorman and Walker can pick up the pace. But anyway, that .553 winning percentage since May 12th of last season is better than the Cubs. Wait a minute. The Cubs spend all that money and they got Craig Counsell managing their team. How could, since May 12th of last year, how in the world could Oli Marmol have a better record than Craig Counsell? Because we all know he's the worst manager ever lived, right? Just kidding. Anyway, that .553 winning percentage since May 12th of last season is better than the Cubs, Red Sox, Rangers, Braves, Brewers, Giants, Royals, and Orioles. I've criticized Marmol a lot, but I try to be fair. I certainly have no agenda. Any reasonably fair-minded person can see that he's doing a good job of running this team this year in less than ideal circumstances. And he's doing it after they got kicked around, they got slapped around, and they had a bad start to the season. He kept this team together. He's got a team that loves to play for him, loves to play for each other. The attitude is great. And listen, I realize that some of you, it could be a small number, I don't know, but some of you dislike this guy so much you will never give him credit for anything. I get it because I hear about it all the time. My friend Tom Ackerman at KMOX told me that in recent weeks, he's like been approached by people, whether at church or in the grocery store or something, and say, hey, Tom, the Cardinals are playing great ball, but Oli Marmol's got nothing to do with this. John Mozeliak has nothing to do. What? See, I've never understood people who pack so much hatred in their heart, in their minds, that the brain fails to function properly. How can you say the guy that put the roster together and the guy who manages the roster has nothing to do with how they're playing? I tell you what, if the Cardinals' record right now was, after 47 games, let's say they had about 20 wins. And what would that be? I can't even do my math. They're 26-21. Let's say if they only had 20 wins at this time. Would anybody be saying that the manager has nothing to do with that? Or the guy who runs the franchise has nothing to do with that? No. See, when it suits your objective or your agenda to throw hate on Marmol in particular, you're not going to give them any credit whatsoever when they're playing well. But when they're not playing well, guess who gets the majority of the blame? Double standard much, my people? Listen, I much prefer to go with how Marmol's doing and leading the Cardinals in 25 with it's kind of a less than ideal circumstances. I don't hate on Marmol because John Mozeliak picked him to replace Mike Schilt. That's just me. You go your own way, and I'm sorry for being a smartass today, but sometimes I can't help it. Thanks for the Bernie Show. Thanks to DraftKings. The crown is yours.